All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a 49er video. Free agency is 1 week away. The Niners the last couple of years have gone with a premier free agent. Which premier free agent will they sign now that we know which players have been franchise tagged and which players have not? We will talk about that coming up next. Of course, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out in Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Go check out Pig and a Pickle. Go say hi to Damon and Mary. Get some brisket. Tell them that Larry Krueger sent you. And welcome back to the Krug Show as we talked a little bit about what 49er free agent, what premier free agent the 49ers are going to add. All right, well, the franchise tag deadline came and went, and there were a number of guys who were franchise tagged. Antoine Winfield Jr. got the tag. Justin Matabuke from the Ravens got the tag. Jalen Johnson of the Chicago Bears got the tag. And yet there were some interesting players that weren't tagged. And two of them are defensive linemen that I could see the 49ers making a big play for. One is Chris Jones. Now, Chris Jones is going to be 30 this year. He had 10 and a half sacks last season, and, man, he was versatile. He played inside. He played outside. You could see him, he had a pass rush win rate of 19.6% off the edge. And then if you looked at his versatility off the edge, I mean, his pass rush win rate jumped from 19.6% to 22.1% off the edge. He's an 8-year veteran. He's a game wrecker. He's got 75 and a half career sacks, 12 forced fumbles, 26 pass breakups over his career. He's going to get a big deal. Now, the Chiefs were talking about franchise tagging him and didn't. They obviously feel like they've got the parameters down on a deal, so they didn't franchise tag him, and they did franchise tag L'Jarius Sneed, their corner. So a lot of people feel like Jones is going to sign a monster deal with Kansas City. I think he'd like to stay in Kansas City. I think Kansas City was smart enough to understand that keeping him long term is in their best interest. If by chance that does not work out, that's where the 49ers ought to look. Why? Because Chris Jones is the most dominant front seven player in the game today. The Niners want to have a dominant front seven. Eric Armstead is nearing the end. Going to Chris Jones would just be, one, it would take him away from Kansas City. It would put him on your team, and you would suddenly become the overwhelming favorite to win the Super Bowl. So Chris Jones, it's not, I would say realistically, it's not really an option because I can't picture him leaving Kansas City for anybody, let alone the 49ers. So I don't think Chris Jones is coming to the Niners, but I do think the Niners, since he wasn't franchise tagged and they're looking for a premier guy, they should absolutely kick tires on Chris Jones. All right, that's one. Number two, the edge rusher market. Bryce Huff of the New York Jets. He's going to be 26 years old. He had 7.5 sacks over his first 3 pro seasons, and then he produced 10 in 2023 for the Jets. And his pass rush win rate was 21.8%. That ranked 8th in the NFL. This guy comes flying off the edge. I mean, absolutely an electric first step. Great flexibility in his lower body. This guy can flatten to the quarterback and turn, and get to the quarterback at a very high rate of speed. He's got major upside in nickel passing situations. Bryce Huff is a big-time player. And he doesn't have a big-time name, but he's got a big-time game. And if the Niners are looking for that D Ford speed rusher that they enjoyed a few years ago, opposite Nick Bosa, Bryce Huff is your guy. And it's hard to beat, where he's at as far as his career. He's only 26. He's relatively young. I could see Bryce Huff being a very attractive name for the 49ers. That's number 2 on the list. And this list is, obviously you'd rather have Chris Jones number 1. And then, I'm saying Bryce Huff number 2. Then I would go Jonathan Greenard from the Houston Texans, who's going to be 27 this upcoming year. His career high is 12 and a half sacks. He tied for 10th in the league this last year. He had a 22% pass rush win rate, which ranks 6th in the NFL. I just love what I see from Greenard, man. I loved him at Florida, but man, the explosive lower body, the hip flexibility, the ability to flatten that to the quarterback. I just loved what I saw of Greenard in the playoffs. He comes firing off the ball at just a great rate of speed. He's got long arms. He's got great hand usage. He's got counters to his moves now. He's an instinctive player against the run. He logged 52 tackles against the run in 2023. So Greenard's got the speed to get the edge. He's got youth on his side. He can play the run, and he's a premier guy. So I've got Chris Jones 1. I've got Bryce Huff 2 from the Jets, edge rusher. I've got Jonathan Greenard 3 from Houston, edge rusher. Number 4 on the list is Kenny Moore. The Niners need a slot corner. Kenny Moore is going to be 29 this year. He's still one of the top slot corners in the league. He picked off 3 passes last year. He's got 17 career interceptions. And he can play inside. He's rugged. He's aggressive against the run. He's got awareness to play in space, in the zone. You can match him up. You can play off coverage, man-to-man, press man, off man, zone. Kenny Moore is a tremendous player. And he's like one of those guys that as the league goes on and the slot corners man a bigger role, suddenly a guy like Kenny Moore's value shoots up. So I'm absolutely would be interested in Kenny Moore if the 49ers could make that happen. Another guy that I think has to be on this list, if you're looking for potential 49er free agents they could sign, is Azeez Al-Shaair. Now, he wouldn't be considered a premier free agent, but he's only going to be 27. He started all 17 games for the Titans last year, racked up 163 tackles, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble. He plays downhill in the run game. He's super aggressive. With Greenlaw being out with the Achilles, Azeez slating right back in as a stacked backer would just be outstanding. He's fast. He's instinctive. You're talking about a guy who knows the defense. He fits into your culture. Azeez Al-Shaair makes a ton of sense for the 49ers in free agency. And the last guy that I'm going to go with is Christian Wilkins. Christian Wilkins, I think most people thought was going to get the franchise tag from the Dolphins. And he just didn't. So he's only going to be 28 going into next season. This guy's versatile and he's productive. And he can play in any front. He can play in a 34 front as a defensive end. He can play in a 43 front as a defensive end or as a defensive tackle. He's an explosive player, and he's got he's got a great motor, always plays really hard. He can play everywhere. You want to play him on the nose, you can play him on the nose. You want to play him on the edge, you can play him on the edge. You want to use him as a 3 technique, you can use him as a 3 technique. You want to use him as a 5 technique, he can play there as well. He's got great lateral ability, and he's good against the run. He's good against the pass. He had 9 sacks last year, 35 pressures, and 63 tackles for Wilkins against the run. So he does it all. And I thought for sure the Dolphins were going to franchise him, and they didn't. That's probably the player to get right there. If you're looking for a piece to add to your defensive front that's young and talented and has a lot of upside and is good against the run and the pass and is scheme versatile, and you don't know exactly what player you're going to see come of age and how your defensive line is going to shake out, a guy like Wilkins is invaluable. You could play him inside next to Hargrave. You could play him opposite Bosa as a big defensive end. There's lots of things you can do with Christian Wilkins. He really can man almost every spot on your defensive line. So those are the guys right there. You got a couple of edge rushers in Greenard and Bryce Huff. You got a couple of down defensive linemen in Chris Jones and Christian Wilkins. And then you got a linebacker that you know fits your culture and your scheme in Azeez Al-Shaair. And you got a great nickel in Kenny Moore who can step in right away and be your starting nickelback and allow you to play Lenore and Mooney on the outside and give you that special player in the nickel that you really need. So the Niners have been known in recent years to go for one major free agent. This year, I would not doubt that one of the guys that I just talked about right there could be their major free agent in the 2024 draft. We're a week away. We'll figure it out in a week or so. But the Niners have about 20 free agents. I expect they're going to let about 15 to 18 of those guys walk away. They're going to re-sign a couple of their favorites to reasonable deals, and they're going to go sign one major free agent. And I hope it is Chris Jones. That would be incredible. But Christian Wilkins, if I had to say, who's even the better fit, it might be Wilkins for how versatile he is, how young he is, and just how productive he's been. So Chris Jones would be a dream for sure. But man, maybe a more realistic dream would be Christian Wilkins of the Miami Dolphins. All right. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to Aura for sponsoring this video. And thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.